more. You put in the grind, then you grind more. Accomplish your goals, then you find more. And you don't need to rest if you want to be the best.
Ladies and gentlemen, my guest at this time is the owner and promoter of West Coast Pro Wrestling out here in the Bay Area, Scott Bregante. Scott, how you doing, brother?
Hey, what's going on? How you doing? Thank you for having me on.
Hey, no, thank you, man. So this is really cool for me because I found out about West Coast Pro like mid to late 2019. I had never been to a show, and I went to 17 Reasons, the only show in 2020. Had a great time.
Yeah,
had a blast. Show. But and then the world shut down.
Yep.
So I mean, we're gonna talk about it all.
Yeah, we had yeah, that's a story I could tell you. But go ahead regarding the show that came up after that.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it all, man. So I don't think I've ever heard this story. How did West Coast Pro come about, man? Like, where'd the name come from? Obviously, because we're on the West Coast. But was it going to be something else, or how'd you come up with the idea to just start a Fed?
So I was doing the All Pro Wrestling training school, or sorry, it was the boot camp when Sparky Ballard went over to Pacifica. It was myself, Thunder Rosa, a Berkeley Brawler. There's a few people up in there. And I only wanted to be a promoter, or I wanted to learn how to write for wrestling. I wanted to figure out the psychology. That type of stuff interests me. I'm 5'7". I'm not in any way, shape, or form athletic. I just really wanted to understand the dynamics of pro wrestling more than what a fan would see. So I got sick, got up out of there. I wasn't cut out for it. And what happened was that Will Hobbs was a close friend of mine. So what ended up happening was I was talking to him, and I would be throwing ideas at him, but not like fantasy booking, just, give rundowns and stuff like that. And he's like, you should really think about doing something yourself. Because at the time I had a few other businesses that was popping up. And most people know me for like other business ventures that I do. And so I was like, nah, man, I'm not trying to be a fly-by-night guy at all. So I said, I promised myself, hey, if I'm thinking about this as much as I'm thinking about it now, in 6 months, I'll actually do it. And 6 months went by, and I, couldn't stop thinking about it. So I hit up Sparky, and I said, hey, man, I'm thinking about doing something. Just out of respect for Sparky, you know what I mean? Because everything's so close. It was like All Pro Wrestling's Daly City. Sparky had Gold Rush Pro Wrestling in Pacifica. I was going to run in San Bruno. And I didn't know Marcus Mack at the time. I knew Sparky. I was close to Sparky. And I hit him up and I said, hey, man, do you think this would be okay? And Sparky's one of the coolest motherfuckers. Can I cuss on this? I'm sorry.
It's the internet, absolutely.
Okay, I'm just double checking, man. I don't know if you have sponsors and if they get mad about that.
No, it's cool.
Sparky is one of the most genuine people that I've known. I can honestly say that he's like a friend. And he literally told me, he goes, why would I stop? What do you say? He said, why would I stop from having these guys have another platform? And that's all I needed to do. And then the rest is history.
Hey, man, I love it. So we gotta credit Team Taz's Will Hobbs for this, huh?
Yeah, Will's the homie. I've known Will since I think the week before or 2 weeks before he started the boot camp. So
back when it was at the garage.
Back when he was. I knew him 2 weeks before. He told me to come out to a Gym Wars, and I went out, and then I started going to Gym Wars from there. I've always been a pro wrestling fan, but I was getting into APW and what they were doing. And at that time, Roland was still alive. And a lot of amazing talent came out of that garage. So I got really lucky to see all that stuff. But yeah, I've known Will since I think it was a week or two beforehand, out in Hayward. And that's the homie, man. That's my guy right there. I remember he got signed, man. We were both on the phone spazzing out. Like I was over on the East Coast. He hit me up, told me he got signed. I remember freaking out. That shit was too cool as fuck.
Same here, man. Well, I was going to APW shows back when he was Will Rude with the blue mohawk.
Rude, yeah. So I'm so conditioned to not call him Will Rude because I've called him Will Rude forever. And like at a certain point, because of I'm bad with that guy's name. He's in WWE.
Bobby Roode.
There you go. He's TNA. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bobby Roode. And he's like, nah, man, I'm switching it up. And I'm like, all right. And even after that, like I had him as Will Rude. And one day he's like, you gotta stop calling me that. I'm like, sorry, man. It's just how I know you.
That's hella funny. So, man, how'd you find the stateroom? Because, man, like it's a cool venue. It's a nice little spot.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. said it reminds me of the Brady Bunch house. There's some because we ended up on Botchamania a few times, whether it's good or bad, whatever. And the one thing I took away from it was Dale Earnhardt Jr. saying that it reminds me of the Brady Bunch house. I love the stateroom, but yeah, it's a little bit unique, and I think I went for that purposefully.
Yeah, man, it's a great atmosphere. It's a great vibe. So how'd you come about that? Because I remember I listened to you on a podcast last year. You said the first show you were going to run, the place canceled. They were like, no, we don't want wrestling here. The city of San Bruno
did not want wrestling at that time. There was a backyard wrestling event that happened, God knows when, and some kid sliced his artery. And ever since then, the city was like, no. So we had to reschedule that show. That was at the San Bruno Veterans Hall on San Mateo Avenue. And we were, I think, 2 or 3 weeks out from the show. And we were 2 or 3 weeks out from the show, got told can't do it. And then thankfully Sparky hooked it up. He let us use the gold mine for our first show. And that was in October of 2018. And that was the Halloween show. We were trying to figure out where to run. And so I live in South San Francisco. I'm from this area. So there was a bunch of quinceañera halls that I remember growing up. And I was like, personally, I didn't want to run in like a gymnasium. I just wanted to do something different. I loved what Hood Slam was doing with the bar atmosphere. UG and UGWA was doing the same. I loved how, if you went somewhere and you like UGWA or Hood Slam, you knew you were at a Hood Slam or UGWA show. And I was like, all right, boy, let me try to figure out how I can pull this off. And my brother was like, hey, man, if you're looking at quince halls, check out the stateroom. And I'm like, it's on the second story. He's like, they got service elevators. I'm like, all right, hold up. So we show up. I saw it. And I was like, all right, let's get it. And it worked out fine. Getting that ring up there, the first show, I will never forget it. There's a guy named Fred. He was a part of Sparky's crew. He passed away, I think, beginning of COVID. Really cool guy, passed away from cancer. And, he was at the top of this service elevator, and we're lifting shit up. Oh man, it was raining. It was hell. It was the worst. And then we mastered it. We figured it out. But the stateroom, when you walk in there, you smell the food. It's like a home atmosphere, man. It's really cool. Like I really, really like it. And the reason why it works so well was that when you walk into it, it stands out. So we stuck with it.
Absolutely. That's what I thought the first time I walked in. I'm like, oh, yo, this is different.
Some people are like, what the hell is this shit? And I feel them because at first it's like whatever, but then it's weird because when you see it on camera and like the sound's off, it's a lot louder in there than people like when they hear it on IWTV or on YouTube or something. They're like, oh, it's not as loud. No, that's just because we suck at audio. It's when you go in there, it's fucking loud. It's pretty fucking loud in there.
It is, man. I remember hearing people say, oh, this is kind of like the old PWG building, which I mean, people aren't surrounding the ring, but like kind of like the atmosphere in a way.
Reseda was cool. Reseda felt more like a veterans hall. And that's not knocking it. Like I always will appreciate it. And I didn't go for that. That was one thing. I wanted to do something. This was literally at the time, the blueprint of what West Coast Pro was. I want to make sure that there's guys from up here that we've seen wrestle 1,000 times against each other, wrestle people from different areas. It wasn't rocket science. I just wanted to do something different. But when people started comparing us to PWG by the matches, match styles, and what the venue looked like, I was like, oh, fuck. It's cool, but also in a sense, like Reseda I've always felt Reseda was different. from ours. You know what I mean? If I would have walked into our venue and been like, this reminds me of Reseda, if you know me, I would have probably not gone for it. You know what I mean? Because I didn't think about the carpeting, and it literally looked like someone's living room. And then you had like the Italian backdrop and the blue lights back there and shit. And I was trying to find something different. But I mean, I get it. I'm not trying to shy away from it. It's just like, damn, I really went out of my way to try to do something different. And there's always going to be comparisons. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you didn't want to be a carbon copy. You want to be an original, and I respect that.
Especially with California, because a lot of people compare. I would say always in wrestling, people will always try to compare, and that's natural. But California, I believe, is so incredible when it comes to talent that it'd be a disservice for us to do the same thing. APW is different from Hood Slam. Hood Slam's different from PWG. I want to say PWG is different from Bar. Bar is different from us. We all have our different flavors. So I just didn't want to be another, in basketball gym wrestling indie. And I still try to do my best to not be that.
Yeah, man. I mean, you guys started really gaining some traction in 2019. When did you realize, like, okay, I got something sweet here. I got something nice in my hands?
The first show we only sold 36 or 37 tickets. It was horrible. Granted, it was. I had, I work in marketing, affiliate marketing, and I have like always a good idea of how to get stuff out. Because of how fucked up the first show was, between the cancellations day of, between losing a venue and all this other shit. I remember Sparky telling me, he's like, if you didn't quit at this point, you're never going to. You had everything that could go wrong. I think at that moment, because of the talent that we had, and I think the talent that we have in the Bay Area, I don't think there was a moment where I didn't feel like I had something special. I believe that like the talent in the Bay Area is special on its own wherever they run. I think where it was the fans really started to understand what we were trying to do was, I want to say it was the show that we had Will and Terex have their blowout. When the Smoke Clears. No, that wasn't When the Smoke Clears. That was Ruthless by Law. That's when we did like a little bit more of the hardcore stuff, not deathmatch style. And I remember at one point there were a few fans that were kind of like, we're tired of seeing Will. And I was like, y'all don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Just wait. And then it was the Jake Atlas, Tony Deppen, Starboard Charlie, and oh shit, I'm bad with my memory's horrible right now. Because COVID fucking feels like 10 years ago. There's a 4-way match with Will in there, and everyone's just like, holy shit, like we didn't think these people would mesh. And I'm like, why wouldn't they? In my mind, you know what I mean? But there were a few moments where I was like, okay, I got something. And then there was another moment, oh shit, okay. And I just kept going and going. I'm like, this is the talent that we have out here. It's amazing. So it's kind of a recurring cycle of, wow, this is great. And we're still small. So there's so much room to grow. It's like, you're going to have a ton of eureka moments. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. So, I mean, 17 Reasons, it was a banger. I had a great time. The crowd atmosphere was awesome.
Where's Deshaun at? Where's Deshaun with that bang? I clown Deshaun. I love Deshaun. Deshaun on Twitter. You know who that is, right? Deshaun 2 Cents?
Yes.
Okay, so he has a thing where I made fun of him a little bit because I was like, take a shot. Oh, no. It was Vinny Massaro. Vinny Massaro was like, take a shot anytime that Deshaun says banger. I hate the word banger in wrestling. It has nothing to do with you. It's one of those things you hear it so much, so you're like, okay, where are the shitty matches then, please? Because everything's a banger on the indies for some reason. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry, I had to throw it.
I'm gonna start.
What's up, Deshaun?
What's going on, man? I'm gonna start using barn burner like JR or something.
Go for it. Fuck it.
Slobber knocker. So 17 Reasons happens, and then you're promoting a lesson to be learned, I think, right? And COVID hits, bro.
We literally canceled week of. We canceled, I think, on a Tuesday. On Friday was that show. The Saturday after was when everything shut down. I lost. Okay, so that show I had to eat my deposit because, and it has nothing to do with, I'm not mad at anybody for that. But we had the flights. I mean, it's the week of. What do you know? I'm very particular and kind of like, when I have stuff in motion, they're done and paid for. So what ended up happening was a lot of guys were losing a ton of bookings, and there's no one that I book that I would say is a weekend warrior. I don't book people that are half-assed and part-timey. You could go look at everybody that I book on my shows. I stand by that. So I made sure I paid everybody what they were owed. You didn't have to do that. And just some people were bothered that I did that, which it's none of their business what I do with, my business. But I knew when we were having the shutdown that we were going to be affected more so than most, especially in California. If we were in like Texas or Georgia or the South, where really they weren't giving a damn, you know what I mean? There were still shows being ran, I think, a month after, even like amidst the shutdown, there were still shows I was seeing in the middle of nowhere. No bigger names, but like, it was just kind of like, damn, y'all don't give a shit. So when we shut that down, there were guys that were like, hey, don't trip. I'm like, no, that's not what we do here. If I'm investing into what you are doing and you have a family, I'm already in the position where if I'm, as a businessman, if I'm booking something, I'm already looking at that as, you know what, this is already out of my pocket, and that's done. Everyone was owed that. So I made sure everyone was set with that. We had the city was cool. They were like, hey man, when we get everything back together, we'll pick it right back off where we left off. But that was a very fucking rough week. Not because I couldn't run my fucking wrestling show. I can't care less. It was, damn, dog, what are they going to do? Like, friends, you know what I mean? People that, that do this, like, not as a weekend thing, but like, hey, I'm trying to build a career here and to provide for my family. What am I going to do for the unforeseeable future? Like, what are we going to do? And that's where I was like, all right, we try to figure something out. So yeah, that week was rough for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was crazy because like the world was getting shut down and people weren't really taking it seriously out here. I mean, like, I know we were shut down, but like then they started being like, hey, you can be fined in public if you don't have a mask on. And we're like, oh, okay, this that is
first
really
month
serious.
was wild, man. It was insanity. It was crazy. The toilet paper short. I remember. So I work with a very large distribution company, and people were reselling toilet paper and Clorox wipes and essential stuff and things like that. And I was getting them, and you look on the Facebook, because me on Facebook is kind of like, how can I look at it? Like, Twitter is public figure, Instagram more out there. Facebook is kind of tight knit. So it's everyone that's in here, the community, basically. I was driving toilet paper and Clorox people so they didn't have to pay 3, 4, 5 times the price. Cause I was just like, wrestling is a beautiful community when it's done right. And these people still have to go and live life outside of this shit. I'm not just going to be out here like, hey, trying to sell you a ticket outside of that. Go fuck yourself. It's, hey man, are you good? Do you need something? Okay, I have access to it. Let me hook you up. Don't give me a dime. I want to make sure you come out on the other end of whatever this is. Okay. And we did that. So I have a really strong team around me, and I'm really proud of them for sticking with me through this.
Absolutely, man. I mean, the toilet paper shortage was crazy.
That was stupid.
It was. My grandma was one of those. She still has toilet paper from over a year ago when she bought it.
Absolutely. Like, there's no one I know that doesn't. Look, man, America is funny. You saw the gas shortage that we just had. We weren't even being affected by that pipeline in California, and people were trying to it's funny, man.
I work at a gas station. I know firsthand.
Put them in plastic, and I'm like, I'm not a scientist or a gas station expert or nothing. I'm like, you need to destabilize that gas, stupid, or it's going to go bad. Or
first of all, it's illegal. You have to be in a proper gas container. Second of all, that gas isn't going to work out for you. Your car is going to break down or something.
Anyway,
yeah. So I mean, how'd you keep busy, man? I mean, I guess Fat Kid Mafia, was it booming?
So I'm blessed to have an amazing following of Fat Kid Mafia. I also do have my marketing stuff. I did a few cross country runs. I stayed on the East Coast for a little bit. Driving through the country during a pandemic twice was interesting. It was a lot. There was, I always was looking for the next opportunity and try to find something so where I could get my guys paid. Whether it be small acting gigs, whether it be information on stunt work, other companies that are outside of California that have the right protocols. We were working with GCW a little bit. Some of our guys went out there. We sponsored them to make sure that was happening. It was just, a lot of people had their lives, and mine included, derailed because of COVID. It just is what it is. I don't have a mentality of just sitting back. I'm going to do whatever I can. I live by myself, so I wasn't really worried about spreading anything because I would be, solo dolo going across back and forth, taking the right precautions. But yeah, it was a trip. It was a really weird year for sure.
Yeah, man. So I mean, at first they said like a month, then they said June, then Donald said August, and people were like tripping. I saw like August, September, like people were running like outdoor venues. Did that ever cross your mind?
I hate outdoor venues. I hate outdoor shows. It just doesn't have the right feel to it. I like running night shows. I've always loved indoor nighttime shows. You know what I mean? There's a reason why I don't run on Sundays. I like Friday night. That's just my thing. I want wrestling on an indie level to be dope. You know what I mean? Like, I want it to feel like a concert, not like UGWA or Hood Slam. I'm saying like, we're going to go see some dope ass shit that's culturally relevant also. And that's kind of like why I didn't want to run. It doesn't sound right. People still had to social distance. It was just like, what the fuck? And props to people doing it. I know a lot of people had to scratch that itch. I know a lot of people that went through like depression because they couldn't do wrestling because it's kind of like a part of who they are. And I understand it and I respect it. But I'm responsible for so many people and I care about their health. So we didn't know what we know now. So therefore, I was not going to risk it by running some outdoor show. There was two indicators that I had that I was going by. The first one was when Disneyland opens up, that's when I know we're going to be back on track. And number two is when you see concerts start to advertise again. So like Halloween weekend, we have Outside Lands. We have the Wine Festival up north of Napa. There's tons of festivals being put out there, indoor and outdoor. The insurance companies that insure these events is the real indicator of why I'm doing that. Obviously, Disneyland is going to be, I saw Disneyland shut down. I was like, all right, we're kind of fucked here. You know what I mean? So those were my two indicators of how to do that. We kept on hearing July, August, and October, and I saw no movement. I've been talking to OSHA. I've been talking to the city. I've been talking to the San Mateo County Health Department. And then, in turn talking to the state, and they're like, it's not happening. Like, I don't know. So I would call like every month and check in and figure this out. And it was just not happening.
I see. So, I mean, the West Coast did have like some life during the pandemic. The West Coast Pro title, which Alexander Hammerstone holds, it was featured on Primetime Live.
Primetime Live with
a couple times.
Yeah, that was cool. Hammerstone out there was consistently keeping a positive mental attitude. He was being he was out there like giving people some type of hope with how he was talking and maintaining. Everyone was going through it. And, instead of just being another fart in the wind, basically, he was out there showing people like, oh, I'm still doing my thing. I'm still keeping fit and, things like that. When the opportunity came with David Marquez, obviously, because we work with the UWN, and he is awesome to work with. So when he was letting me know about Primetime Live, I was like, absolutely. You know what? if I could, since we have a spot out there, let's go get it. So, obviously I want to showcase the top of what we have as far as talent goes. It was a no-brainer. So yeah.
That's what's up, man. Hammerstone, is he your inaugural champion?
Yeah, he's held on to the belt, I think, over 400 days now.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously because of COVID, but he had some crazy title defenses lined up. I know it was a triple threat between Hammerstone, Jarrell from the 1%, or they're known now as the West Coast Wrecking Crew, and Will Hobbs. That was going to be that triple threat main event.
We're going to talk about that in a second. So, why'd you decide on Hammerstone to go over?
What do you mean?
Why'd you pick him to be the champ?
Okay. So, how can I answer this? I'll put it this way. I'm a very big believer in, when it comes to pro wrestling, if I could look at you and feel like I could whoop your ass, I don't really want to see it. There are a lot, and everyone in wrestling is a tough guy. Everybody, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There are people that live outside of this bubble, and it is what it is. But I've said this plenty of times before, publicly and privately, and to people. If I don't, it's kind of like the old Vern Gagne thing. If I hear you got your ass whooped in public and people saw it, that's a bad look for everyone involved, right? So when we went and were looking for people, obviously Will is a no-brainer. And Dave Marquez could probably vouch for this also. For about 2.5, 3 weeks, I was looking for anybody over 5'11" in pro wrestling that was not signed that could work. I didn't say work good, that just could work. They don't exist. So when you look at guys like Hammerstone, when you look at guys like Hobbs, you're going to want to keep an eye on them and also keep them close. So that's the best way I can explain that answer.
No, absolutely, man. I mean, Hammerstone, I've seen him live a few times. Once was at that 17 Reasons show and watching this stuff, man. He's the real deal.
There's a very stupid misconception that people have of him, Will, because they're bigger guys. 9 times out of 10, people look at them, and I've had people say this to me, is that they cannot work, and I'm like, wow, it's
no, they can go.
It's I've cussed people out over it. I'll put it that way. You know what I mean? As a promoter, I shouldn't, but I'm just like, I should be like somehow trying to sell them fucking a seat or some shit. But I'm like, if you don't like what you're seeing, please don't buy a ticket. I've turned people away like that. I don't want people to come in. I don't like elitism in wrestling. I hate that. It makes my job 10 times harder. So when you come in there, I'm like, okay, look, I appreciate what happened in Japan in the 80s and the 90s. I love all that type of shit. I love deathmatch wrestling, which people, shockingly, if you ask some of the wrestlers, I don't like death matches, but I love deathmatch wrestling. And then I put it out on Twitter. New Jack's top 5 of all time for me. New Jack's the reason why I watched wrestling from 97 and 98 on. He's the reason why I got into wrestling.
I know that passing had to hit you pretty hard, huh?
That shit stunk because I was talking to somebody. I was talking to Levi about this, and we had to go to Los Angeles, so we were driving there. And I'm not exaggerating when there was an hour conversation of the pros and cons. What would happen if we booked New Jack? Because I was like, I don't want to sound like a fucking mark. Why would, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, it was just crazy. But anyway, yeah, it's really, I hate, it's weird now because everyone doesn't like bigger guys when it comes to wrestling. It's kind of like, it's flipped. Like in the 90s, people were like, big guys are everything. Hogan and, the Warlord and Ultimate Warrior. And then it started, Bret Hart came in and Shawn Michaels came in and it was cool. Bryan Danielson came in. Now people are like, oh, if you're big, you're roided out. And it's like, no, that's not really how that works. These guys could actually wrestle really well too. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, man. I mean, Hammerstone and Hobbs, those are 2 big athletic dudes that can go.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I'm so proud of Will and what he's accomplished, and I'm also super proud of Hammerstone. Like both of them, they were the main event for our first show.
That's what's up.
And I was just like, no, this is Flame. And to see the trajectory of where they were and where they are now, like Hammerstone, when we first started working with Hammer, he still had like the long hair and everything.
Yeah, that's when people were calling him Single H.
And I hated that. But you couldn't deny like the guy's talent and the guy's look, and he was super professional. You can't get all three of those. Usually you'll get like 2 out of 3, or like, and I've dealt with this, people that have a good look and they can work, but they talk in the third person. They're complete egotistical assholes. Hammer's the nicest fucking dude. You know what I mean? Will also same thing. Super humble, extremely knowledgeable about pro wrestling, could work well, has a look. You can't ask for much more, to be honest, from an independent standpoint. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. So, I mean, Hammerstone's he's the heavyweight champ. Is there a possibility for more championships at some point down the line?
Absolutely. We were gonna. So I could talk about this now. So there was gonna be a point we were gonna have a tag tournament for belts. But right now that's on hold. Not because of any other reason than it's very hard to find tag teams in wrestling, especially on the West Coast, and enough to fill up a tournament. You know what I mean? Some guys will work together just to kind of get booked together. You know what I mean? But when you have guys like the 1%, Reno Scum, those are pretty high standards to have, especially, you know, we had the Rascals, and they're all on, you know, NXT now, killing it. But we have a pretty high standard when it comes to talent. No bullshit. So again, look at our cards. You can see what I mean by that. So it's going to be kind of hard to find tag teams with that. As far as a women's belt, we were going to incorporate the Gold Rush Lady Luck belt. But again, a lot of people moved out of California during COVID. So right now, I really believe that we could do some really good stories, really good matches with just one belt. I don't think we need to emphasize on that. You know what I mean? I think showcasing up and coming talent is more so along, you know, with having our heavyweight belt, but showcasing what we have out there right now is kind of like the main goal at the moment. So we'll probably have another belt soon, but like we don't have like a lightweight or cruiserweight belt come in, or there was an idea of a TV belt because we had something along the lines for that, but we're chilling on that right now.
Because I was gonna ask you, like, what would you think is the sweet spot? Like 3 to 4 championships?
2. You know, have a solid heavyweight belt or open. You know, I hate calling it the heavyweight belt. It's called the West Coast Pro Championship. You know what I mean? Some people call it the heavy just because it's the main. I call it the West Coast Pro Championship. You know, anyone could win that belt, honestly. Especially in the indies, in my opinion, weight class shouldn't really mean much. That's just my thinking. You're limiting yourself. And a solid tag belt. I think those two are great to build on. I think having every fucking type of belt could hinder you. Some people are, you know, want to see women's matches. All right, let's get it. But then sometimes, you know, there's a light heavyweight belt, tag belt, women's belt, trios belt. I'm like, all right, man, just stick to 2 belts and call it a day. You know what I mean? We're going to get to a tag belt at some point. I think that's going to be the next one that we go with. But I think 2 for indie. Yes, 2. You know, that's just my opinion.
For sure. So, man, I mean, July 9th, Cruel Summer, West Coast is coming back. The internet, the wrestling community out here, we're juiced. We're excited. I bought my tickets. I will be there.
Awesome.
So, man, I mean, like at a lesson to be learned, it was going to be Hobbs versus Joel Nelson versus Hammerstone for the title.
That was a stacked ass card, man.
Now, I mean, we've seen AEW people come out here and work indies like Sean Spears and Lucha Bros.
Yes.
Can this? I mean, Hammerstone, he's still doing indies. Can that match still happen? Possibly.
Never say never.
Okay.
I will say that. Here's something I could say. I don't want to have the same match that I announced a year ago because so much has changed dynamic wise, looks wise. Other ideas have come, you know, and there's a lot that built up to that. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see a lot, but I was working with Will and working with Hammer, and those two were doing their own thing separately, and they all came back together at one point. if I was going to do that again, I would want to rekindle some of that magic and then move forward. Just to be like, hey, haven't seen y'all in a year and a half. Here's a match. It sounds good on paper. It is good on paper. I guarantee you it's going to be solid in the ring. But that 1 year of us working together to, here's this guy, and they're huge, and they're on opposite ends, and then they're finally coming together. Let's, So right now, no, I wouldn't want to put that match out there. But in the future, sure. Here's something I will say. I know that some guys at AEW can still work on indies. It's like, I would love to work with a lot of guys from AEW. And I know that they would help out a lot of the young guys, Will included. But if I'm going to work with somebody, because AEW's caliber from what we saw it as throughout the pandemic and now is completely changed. They are on such a high platform that if I bring someone in, I want it to mean something. Because right now, if you look at a lot of indie shows that are being announced, it's really the same matches. It's the same shit. And I hate that. I mean, I completely respect that, some guys are just trying to get their buzz back, and that's cool. I play the long game. I plan on making wrestling content and creating wrestling shows and promoting and booking 10 years, 15 years from now. I don't care. I'm like, there's stuff that, I can't speak on that were just discussed yesterday that we're planning 4 or 5 years out. It's not like, if I could have told you where we should have been January, you would have shit your pants. You know what I mean? Like, it's insanity. So like, I want to bring people in to get them acclimated to being in front of crowds, worker and fans alike. Cause it's going to be weird for fans to come back to wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Especially the indoor space. For an entire year and a half, you were told, like, yo, being around someone's gonna get you sick and you're gonna bring it home and kill somebody. Now it's like, okay, we're vaccinated. We're getting better with that. Okay, cool. I'm at 50% capacity. You know what I mean? We're still social distancing. I'm enforcing masks. Let's ease back in. The first show back, if I booked a super show, if I said, fuck it, I'm bringing Great Muta and all the people I want to book in, right? Because at one point, Great Muta was on my list. And I'm just using that for examples. I have an August show too. And September and October. How do you one up the most stacked show, blah, 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 blah? I just want to reintroduce everyone and say, hey, these guys still got it. Let's get back to business. It's West Coast Pro. Let's fuck it, kill them all. You know what I mean? That's my attitude for it. I'm not trying to book a super show. You know what I mean? Because I don't think it's needed. You know what I mean? Like, it's number one, if I book the super show, the ticket prices would be 2 times the amount. And then 2, it's like, I want y'all to appreciate solid, consistent pro wrestling. And that's really all that is. But I'll also say this. Name a fucking show except for, no, I won't even say my first one. Name a show that I booked that wasn't stacked. Especially for this era, you can't really do that. Because I was bringing in Luchasaurus before he was even signed. Darby Allin before he was even signed. And these are guys, fucking Daniel Garcia. Watch where Daniel Garcia is in a year from now. I promise you. These are all people that people wouldn't fly out here because it was, oh, they're big on the internet, but they're not big here. Okay, but the internet still exists. There's people that I'm booking on this coming up show, and announcements are coming, I think, starting next week. There's people that I'm booking on this show that you're going to be like, oh, okay, well, fuck. Gotcha. You know what I mean? And also at the same time, it's like everybody that was super popular at the beginning of COVID is all signed now. So we're repackaging, rebuilding, and that's not a cop-out. That's not saying like, oh, this is going to be weak. Again, I don't book weak shows. I'm very confident in saying that. You're going to find people on there like, oh, shit. Okay. You know what I mean? I'm kind of hesitant if I'm going to tell you who the first person I'm going to book because he hasn't been here before.
That's actually my next question, man. What can you tell us who's showing up for a little bit?
Who do you think would show up? That's a better question. I have it booked. It's already done. Flight's already planned. Blah,
okay.
blah, blah. But I love hearing who y'all choose because sometimes it's the same answer and sometimes it's a completely off answer and sometimes it's a person I've never even heard of. Like there was a point that I was considering bringing Joshi in. Like I was gonna start going, like I was gonna try to hit up Stardom and be like, well, no one's really, Stardom's doing the thing, and then everyone had their Shimmer and all that other shit. AEW's really got some in there, but I think Japanese women's wrestling is amazing and very slept on.
It's great.
And, it's phenomenal. Like there's emotion, athleticism, and they're awesome looks. You know what I mean? So, but who would you think, if you looked at how I've booked, who do you think I'm bringing in?
I mean, Hammerstone's a given because he's the champion. I don't know. I'm just trying to like look around the wrestling world and trying to see where people are and who would actually be available. I could see Calvin Tankman showing up.
Okay.
I could see him.
Okay. Calvin Tankman was one of the very first people that I was like, hey, this guy would work really well with Will.
That would be awesome.
I've never got a chance to work with Calvin Tankman. And I am a huge fan of AJ Gray. And AJ has always told me Calvin's got it. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Not saying he is or isn't. I'm just saying, well, fuck it. He's not going to be there. No, he's not.
Okay.
That would be nice, but no.
Myron Reed.
Ooh, that's okay. You like MLW guys, I'm gathering, correct? Or
yeah, no, I'm a fan.
Okay, that's what's up. No, that's good. Myron, also awesome. Midwest guy too. A lot of guys from out here don't really. It's weird to say this. It's like if there's very few people in the Bay Area that know about the guys out of the Midwest, out in Limitless, Maine, and all that other shit. So, yeah, no, that's crazy.
Chris Dickinson.
Dickinson's awesome, but I think Dickinson, we'll see more of him later. I'll say that.
Okay.
I love Dickinson.
All right.
You got some good names, but these are all names I would love to work with. I've worked with Dickinson before. I had him and Will together. That was a great match.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
I think it's on IWTV. I think it's up there.
I'm gonna have to go watch him. I don't know.
Okay. Well, look, I'll just put it this way. If you're familiar with guys outside of California, you're gonna have a very good solid group from up here. But then there's gonna be some people from outside of California for sure. I could guarantee that.
Okay.
Yeah. No, there'll always be people from out of state. That's gonna happen. Towards COVID, we were going out of country with it. There was definitely like, hey, we'll help you get the visa, all this other shit type. That's what level we were going. But again, we're rebuilding it. We're like, okay, I don't want to just go and say, hey, we're bringing X from X, and then you're just like, well, fuck, how do you top that? You know what I mean?
Well, let me ask you. I just thought of this. Let me ask you this: with the recent WWE releases in 89 days or so,
right.
could we possibly see a Buddy Murphy or a Tommy End pop up?
I think from an indie standpoint, and this is just promoter talking, I'd love to work with them. I can't tell you what's going on in 90 days because I'll say this. Everyone was getting signed at a 30-day interval during COVID. So every time, walk with me through this, every time that we thought we were going to have a show, we would immediately try to figure out who we could book because that's how you got to do it. Immediately, people would get signed up. So I can't say, hey, we're definitely going to work with those people because they might get signed elsewhere. And then that would derail a ton of plans. Do you see what I'm saying? Tommy End and Buddy Murphy, in my mind, are two amazing fucking workers. And for those that are listening and never got to see anything from Tommy End previous, please do that. Fucker is a monster. They're missing out.
He's dope.
He is there's a reason why people lost their minds when he came in. And that's just what I'll leave it at that. Okay. I would love to work with these people. You know why? Because it gives an opportunity for them to get footage and food on their table. Okay. That's it. That's all I care about.
Now, I usually ask everybody this question. What are your thoughts on the Bay Area wrestling scene, man? Because I've had this talk with so many people, and Rogue put it to me best. For the longest time, this was an island. You had and you've had so many different eras. Right. You've had the Mike Modest era from like the Beyond the Mat, and then you go to like the 2000s where nobody's really messing with it. Then you get to like the 2012 and beyondward era. You know what I mean?
Bay Area wrestling. I had a lack of information because the Mike Modest era wasn't just the 90s. Mike Modest did his thing in APW, but he, in my mind, Like, let me ask you a question. Did you know Mitsuharu Misawa wrestled in Redwood City in 2002 or 2003 or some shit?
I just learned that right now.
Mike Modest had a company called Pro Wrestling Iron. Look up what Pro Wrestling Iron is. Vinny Massaro, Mike Modest, Masawa was here in Redwood fucking City wrestling. Most people didn't know that. This is like kind of on the cusp of internet era. In the 2000s, people fucked with us. I mean, it was, I would say in the 2000s, the Bay Area and Los Angeles were a lot more connected than you might think. Because if you go look at old PWG shows, there was APW banners in there.
Yeah, and then you had the UPW connection with APW in the 2000s with the prototype Cena popping up and stuff.
So I will say that footage didn't get out of the Bay Area. It was really hard for footage to get out of the Bay Area. It was, and it still is to a point. The Bay has always been active, but it's always been that island. But if you want to get off that island, the footage thing was definitely an issue. Now, the Bay Area scene is very interesting because you have APW, you have myself, you have Gold Rush, and all three of us are pretty tight. You have BTW, you have East Bay. I think you had that new joint that just popped up in Concord. You have Hood Slam, you have UGWA. You have so many different flavors of wrestling in the Bay Area that you'd be hard pressed to not, if you don't like just a single show in the Bay as a wrestling fan, you just probably don't like wrestling. You know what I mean? I'm more of the super indie, if that makes any sense. Like I'm gonna book like the big indie names. That's just what I'm gonna do. Hood Slam's more of the party atmosphere. UGWA is the underground. You know what I mean? Super underground shit. I think it's healthy. I think it's I can say I believe, and this is not me being boasting or bragging, but I can hope that I did light a fire underneath people's asses to kind of step it up just a little bit, not in the terms of how their shows are ran, but just getting more active as far as social media goes and media and putting more content out there, because there's a lot of guys out here. And when I came in, I saw them wrestle each other 1,000 times, and I wanted to see more because I knew they were amazing, and I knew that we could get some really good stories out of them with other workers, with other talent. I'm happy where we are now, but I'm very, very, very determined to take steps to bring us higher. I don't want to be an island anymore. I want to be a fucking, you know what I mean? A continent.
I don't think it's an island anymore, man. Because, I mean,
if you look at who got signed out here, I think at this point it's not. I could say that's why I said footage-wise. Footage-wise was hard to get off. But when you have Charlie going to GCW, you have Toko, you have D-Rogue, you have Zoe. He's going
Alpha
to. You got Will getting signed. You had Impact signed Reno Scum. Jack Cartwright's all over the fucking place right now. It was really, I mean, we're not in a bad spot. If you compared us to LA, yes, I'd say so. It was, if you go look at what PWG was, and a lot of the bar wrestling guys, they're all signed. Like all of them, like everyone's signed. There, you can't go look at PWG and just be like, I don't know who that person is. No, everyone's signed. I mean, shit, Rascals are still their champion. They're all on NXT. You had even Excalibur is a fucking, you know, their commentary signed. So LA was, I'd say LA was definitely its own planet, but people definitely visited that planet and frequented a lot. Up here, not so much. But I will say that you can't keep saying that the Bay Area is an island as far as how talent is being used and seen. That's, I think, completely off. If you're not being noticed up here, you're fucking up. I don't know how else to say that. Yeah,
man. Cause, I mean, you look at all these people. You got Shotzi, Jake Atlas, Jungle Boy,
Jake Atlas is a SoCal cat. Thunder Rosa was up here, definitely got her start here, but blew up down south.
Yeah.
Shotzi came out of here, blew up in the Midwest. You know what I mean?
Cobb, Carl Fredericks.
Yep. Carl Fredericks, New Japan right now. New Japan with Cobb. Fucking awesome. I'm super happy about that. like I said, if you cannot get seen out here, I don't know what the fuck to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, you throw Zicky Dice out there. He was the TV champion in the NWA, man.
Zicky is fucking.
I love that dude.
Zicky is fantastic.
He's great.
He's a nut, and I love that energy. Like, he's one of the very few guys that like I talk to within wrestling that I don't feel like I'm talking wrestling, and that's such a breath of fresh air because it's not a form of condescension by me saying this. I don't like talking about wrestling much. This is the first interview I've done and said okay to in such a long time. And I've said no to a lot because I'm just like, I don't like talking about wrestling a lot. Just because it's the same rehashed bullshit. You're doing a great job, by the way.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
a lot of this shit is very rehashed, and it's like it turns into an echo chamber. You know what I mean? So I just don't. A lot of wrestling fans were like, for example, as soon as they got the news about all the people being released, they were like happy because then they're like, oh, they're free. And I go, some of these people lost their dream job.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about seeing them wrestle in Japan right now. I care about, hey, are they good? Wait maybe a week, 24 hours at least. The fuck? Like, a lot of wrestling fans and even promoters and talent don't have a lot of tact when it comes to that type of shit. They jump on Twitter and Facebook and just start talking. I'm like, fam, shut the fuck up, please. Like, it's come on, man. It's distasteful, but it is what it is. It's kind of like we're conditioned at this point to kind of think of it this way. So it is, fuck it.
All right, man. Now let's hit the rapid fire portion of the interview.
Okay.
Dream match to promote.
I could tell you two. One almost happened, and then another one I would just love to happen. I would love to have just Dead or Alive or no?
Well, that's actually the next question. But two guys who are alive right now.
Okay. Charlie and Will Ospreay.
Okay. That would be dope.
It's one that most people don't even think about, right?
yeah.
Charlie and Will Ospreay. There was a dream match that almost happened. I'm not going to say when and where. We almost had the conversation began was Liger and Aldis, and we tried to do it, but that didn't work out.
Okay.
It would have been Liger's last American match before WrestleMania, indie one.
That would have been awesome. If you could book any talent from any era to show up in West Coast Pro, who would it be?
Terry Funk.
Okay.
Terry Funk is probably like, and it's gonna be weird saying this. All my heroes has either let me down or died. Terry Funk's the last one alive. If it's possible, in a non-selfish way, if everything was cool and it was possible and there wasn't like fucked up, I'd book Terry Funk to come up tomorrow because he still has a lot to offer as far as just a presence. It's Terry Funk. You know what I mean? If you want to call me a mark for Terry Funk, that's fine, but go look at his history and library before you say that because that man is Terry fucking Funk. You know what I mean?
Because Terry's one of those last people that has a true aura about them.
Terry is Chris Jericho is what Terry Funk was when I came in to start watching wrestling. Terry Funk was amazing in multiple eras. Chris Jericho is doing the same thing. I will always respect the ever-loving shit out of Chris Jericho because the idea that you will reinvent yourself is perfect. Terry Funk came in. I remember watching Terry Funk when I was younger. I remember watching him old tapes because my neighbor was a tape trader. So I remember watching all that shit and then finding out what ECW was and knowing that Terry Funk was a part of it. And I was just like, oh, why is Terry Funk? Then I found out about his Japan tapes. And I was like, wait, what the fuck is Japan? Terry Funk introduced me to what Japanese wrestling deathmatch was. You know what I'm saying? So no matter where I went with wrestling, Terry Funk was always there.
I mean, you talk about spanning from like the late 60s to early 70s, all the way
78 is when I got really acclimated to what Terry Funk was all about. You know what I mean?
All the way up until I think his most recent match was 2013, I want to say, something like that.
I think a little bit after that. It's just
maybe 2015.
It might be 2017.
Okay.
I've asked.
Okay.
But I don't want him for a match. I just want him to be, you know what I'm saying? Show up, sign autographs, let some kids know who the fuck Terry, because a lot of people don't know who Funk is out here. He was heavy in the Midwest and the South, not too big on the Northeast, but like, out here was Rowdy Piper and, Wild Samoans. And I respect that, Pat Patterson, super respected. Terry Funk, what I'm saying?
Bro, if you got Terry Funk, I'm first in line.
Yeah, I'd probably not promote that show my damn self. I'd have like Levi go and take the reins so I could be a fan for one night. Because here's something sad. I have not watched an entire show of anything that I've done from front to back. I'm not, because there's only two of us. When it comes in terms of like the tech, there's one person for tech support and doing the lights and all that other shit, and then there's me. There's only two of us. Most people have like
a nice little team.
It's myself, my guy Jeff, and if you want to count Sparky with the ring crew, that's it. But if you ever see me at a show, I'm pacing, I'm fucking spazzing out. So that's a show I would be like, fuck this, I'm gonna watch this and sit down.
Okay. So favorite moment from a West Coast Pro show?
When they carried Charlie at the end of the Fatal 4-Way, that's number one. And then the second one, I actually like shed a tear. It was beautiful when they first started chanting West Coast.
Okay. That
shit blew my mind because I was like, to me, like if your company or your show doesn't have like a chant, it's not really a fucking, you know what I'm saying? Crowd interaction is so important.
Yeah.
Like another reason why I didn't really do too much as far as running these out back shows. I didn't want to do them. But when it was, when they started chanting West Coast, and now when that pops up, that's it. Like that was it. Those were the two greatest memories. But seeing Charlie being hoisted up and being like really respected on that level, that was you couldn't put a price tag on that.
You couldn't write it. Favorite gimmick of all time?
Favorite gimmick?
You a doink guy?
So you're talking about like early 90s?
No, just in general, like me. Like I'm a Razor Ramon guy.
Razor Ramon, fucking awesome. Taker, I would take him out of this category because it's Taker.
Yeah, he's in his own category.
Favorite gimmick? Shit. Those, Razor stuck out big time, but shit, that's a hard question. Jake the Snake is definitely going to be up there for me.
Okay.
I'd say Jake the Snake.
Could we get Jake the Snake at West Coast Pro?
That's very much possible. I'd love to do that. Like, I've never been one to be like, hey, let's bring in a whole bunch of legends. Now it's like, yeah, why not? You know what I mean?
Before they're gone, man. I
don't even want to look at it that way. I don't.
Okay.
It's because I'm sorry to say that way because sadly in this industry we lose guys way entirely too much, and
Absolutely.
Like death is a subject I don't fuck with. So it's like I don't want to look at. I want them. I'll reverse it and put it to a positive. I want them to smell their flowers while they're here. You
Absolutely.
know what I'm saying? Be able to like appreciate and be appreciated. So there's that.
Okay. Favorite tag team of all time?
Dudley Boys.
All right. Favorite wrestler of all time?
It's gonna be a two-way tie. It's gonna be Terry Funk or Dusty Rhodes.
Dusty, okay.
Oh, Dusty, yeah. Like, I was 92, 91, 92 when I first started watching wrestling with my grandpa, and there's Dusty Rhodes with the polka dots and all that other shit. But it wasn't like the moves that got me excited. It was me being able to care about the person. Dusty got me to care. Terry got me to care. You know what I mean? I would put Masawa up there because I didn't know what the fuck was going on in Japan. I don't know Japanese or anything like that, but their matches were the first set of matches that I've ever seen that not a word needed to be said, and I knew exactly what was going on and how serious it was. That was beautiful. That's when I was like, oh, wrestling is an art form. Before I'd be like, oh, wrestling's entertainment. Masawa was the one that made me be like, this is art. I could see what they mean by this.
I respect that, man. Chicago or New York pizza?
Oh, fuck. Chicago, any day of the week. Like, New York pizza is super overrated, and I will die on that hill.
I've never had New York. I've had Chicago pizza.
Did you look? I'm guessing you looked up the conversation about this?
Yeah,
okay.
I do my research.
Okay, thank you. Yes, no, I'm a big pizza guy. Not like, oh, I'm the fucking, I'm the the one all, the be all, or whatever the fuck when it comes to that shit. But I am without a doubt gonna say that Chicago pizza is better than New York pizza.
So I shouldn't even try New York pizza. That's what you're saying.
New York pizza is good.
Okay.
But the way that the fuckers hype it up, no. Go to Connecticut. Go to Connecticut. Connecticut pizza is the best pizza in the world.
Okay.
In the world. I mean, if you go look up anyone that's a pizza person and they travel for pizza, they're going to tell you Connecticut's got it.
Okay. So, I mean, you live in San Francisco. I assume you've been to a Michi's. How do you like that?
I haven't had a Michi's.
Really?
I've had Golden Boy pizza.
Okay.
Which I think is the best pizza I've had. Little Joe's on Mission Street is really good. Signores, if you get it by the slice, is really good over here in San Bruno. So those are the three I'd suggest. California doesn't have pizza and barbecue. We don't have either. I mean, we have them, but it's not like, hey, you need to fucking stop what you. No.
Yeah, it's not one of those. What's your favorite pizza topping?
Oh, just pepperoni. You don't have to put too much on it.
Okay. Do you think pineapple goes on pizza?
No. If you have pineapple on your pizza, you are a fucking communist and you need to get the fuck out of my face. No, I'm just joking. Like the pineapple pizza thing, it turned into like, I understand like it's a meme at this point, but like with me, I was really heavy into the gaming community and people would literally send me pizzas as a joke. So it'd always be pineapple pizzas. And I used to get pissed because I don't like wasting food. I think I hate wasting anything. Don't send me pizzas. And they sent me pizzas. So it is what it is. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of pineapple on pizza. I respect sweet and savory and all that other shit they were talking, but it's just not for me.
I respect it. I'm a fan of the pineapple on the pizza every now and again. Right.
I'm not one of those people that are going to sit here and say your mother is a terrible person and because of it. Like people get too weird on it, but I just don't like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Scott, this has been an awesome conversation, man. Cool. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I can't wait for Cruel Summer, man. Let the people know where they can find you, where they can find West Coast Pro.
Because the first one got killed. It's WC Pro. What is it now? You probably know better than me at this point. Where are we? What is it? WC Pro Official on Twitter, West Coast Pro Official on Instagram. Those are the two that are most active. Cruel Summer, July 9th. Tickets are on sale. We sold out a front row in the first day. We haven't even announced the match. That's fucking wild. We have that going on. Over the next 2 weeks, we're going to start our first announcements just for talent. And then we're going to go into the second phase, which is going to be showing what the matches are. I will say this. As of right now, because we're at 50% capacity, we don't have many tickets left. I'm not saying that as a selling point. I mean that. Like, we are most likely going to have to turn people away at the door. There's a reason why I have not been tweeting out the show. Because I know as soon as those announcements come, people are going to start buying the rest of the tickets. And it just is what it is. I know wrestling is supposed to be selling tickets and all that other shit, but I'm just like, I'm giving people a chill chance. You know what I mean? There are people upset that didn't get the front rows. Sorry. Front rows usually sell out within the first week anyway. Just so happens COVID, they got rid of them in a day. So it is what it is.
That's awesome, man. I can't wait to chop it up with you in person.
Yeah, man.
Socially distanced, of course. I mean, I'm vaccinated, but
I'm gonna be masked up like a motherfucker, bro. Like, I don't know. Like, how do you feel as a fan?
But I've been to like some UGWA shows. I mean, they're outside, so right. I mean,
I know we're gonna be I think the first indoor wrestling show in the Bay. Oh no, I take that back. East Bay's been running shows.
Yeah, I went to the East Bay show. That was something. But Scott, thank you so much, my guy. This has been a pleasure, and can't wait to go to Cruel Summer.
Yes, sir. See you there, man.
Success is anything that you strive for. You put in the grind, then you grind more. Accomplish your goals, then you find more. And you don't need to rest if you want to be the best. If you want it, don't wait your turn.
This has been the Bulletcast. Thank you for listening.